installations. So Visual Studio, just a minute. Yeah. Visual Studio Code. Like you'll ask how to create files, I'll be showing just something. And Shivansh will be doing the application but today. So just a minute. Visual Studio might take some time to load depending upon your system and all. Um, okay. So this is basically the, like once you install you download it and then you just click next and you install it. It's very simple. And once you have everything set up, like installed, at least not set up, then you can open that like Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is an awesome place to edit. It's an IDE. IDEs are integrated development environments. They allow you to do a lot of things. Like there are other alternatives like just a minute. There's Atom, and then there's Sublime. These are which are like relatively easier to understand than VS Code in the beginning, but VS Code is the best alternative you can get. Like you can do a lot of things over here, and later on it will just add on to your professionalism. Just typing these things. Okay. In case you have some questions, then please address it. Do not type it in the chat. Like it sometimes gets difficult for me to scroll through the chat. Okay. So I'll be going over to extensions. I asked you all to install some extensions, right? Like the most important one for development is live server. This live server thingy. It's basically see, when we make websites, we save something and then the browser refreshes it and then it's loading it. But if you have to do it manually, it's going to get really annoying really fast because you'll be checking things multiple times. So live server, what live server does is you just click enter, like you just save it and the browser is just updating it on its own. That's what this extension does. So like install this one, and then there's this bracket highlighter. Um, okay, bracket pair colorizer or highlighter. What it does is, suppose if you're working with JavaScript, a JavaScript, especially jQuery, is really famous for its never-ending brackets. It's not really never-ending, but you have brackets inside brackets inside brackets and whatnot. So it's going to get difficult to recognize which bracket is belonging to which segment. So what it's going to do, it's going to colorize it, and it's going to be easier to recognize. These are the two basic ones you need right now. Nothing else. So ignore anything else. Okay, now how to create a file. Um, I'll be showing this to you. Just a minute. At club level. Yep. This. Let's say I have a new file, like sessions. I'll be creating this one here. I'll be creating a folder session one. It's fine. Session one folder created. Now there are two ways to opening it. Like just open the folder, and then you can run the command prompt over here, like um just a minute. Just ignore it. I'll show the easier one. Like open folder. Um, okay. So desktop. Sessions. I'll select this. I'll click on this and then select it. So folder open. Right. Folder is open. Now, if I want to add a file, I just click on this thing and then I'll add the file. Right. So suppose if I want index.html, like I'll be explaining this bit real fast. So um, index.html, style.css, and then we have index or mean.js, like either one. So at least for the index.html, so like index.html is what we use by convention for HTML files so that browsers can recognize them. Style.css is like it's not necessary. You can call it something else, but it's just a convention. And the same thing is for index.js. So like primarily we'll be dealing with index.html here right now. And now I'll be shifting over to, like, I'll be passing this on to Shivansh, who will be actually applying the code right now and explaining the structure of a basic HTML page to you. Shivansh, you can. Did anyone have any questions so far?
Yeah, Gaurav, I have a small question before starting. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the session, or maybe at the end of the Tech Club membership, what I'm questioning is basically what we are going to learn. Is it HTML or is it Visual Studio, or maybe CSS? What is the main agenda of learning at the end of the whole session?
See, for this session development, our main target is to teach you as much as possible about web development. Now, web development is not a small thing. You have dedicated
Obviously,
front-end developers, back-end developers, and then you have full-stack developers who deal with a lot of stuff. So, see, firstly, we'll be dealing with front-end, like HTML, CSS, like like what, how you make things beautiful and how you make things presentable, like actually making things appear on a website. So that's what we're going to be dealing with. Firstly, in case we are able to complete all of that within this year and we have time, then we'll be moving on to like probably Node.js or Flask or Django, which are frameworks for creating backends. Because we are not using PHP, because PHP is sort of like people don't like it that much. There
got
are
it. And
websites.
one question I had for like Soham, I
Yes,
think question what we are going to use for backend. Same question even I had, like what we are going to use.
like the PPT that I shared on in the server, like I or Shivansh, like either one, doesn't matter. Like we mentioned certain languages which are used for backend normally, like Node.js. Like you are learning JavaScript for the front end, right? So
Mhm.
Node.js is a framework which is based on JavaScript, and then it uses it to make the backend. So preferably Node.js, but see, the learning curve for Node.js is slightly high because it's there's a lot of there are a lot of things which are not really easy to explain with Node.js, but once you get the hang of it, Node.js is the best thing which you could do. There's PHP. Like PHP before Node.js came out and before there were frameworks like Python, not Python, Django and Flask, people use PHP. I guess the latest version is PHP 8 or 9. I don't remember exactly, but PHP, like Facebook was coded in PHP, like the Facebook backend.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
PHP is there, but then you'll have to learn a separate language. Keep that in mind. Also, we have Django and Flask, which are basically one is a library, other is a framework, like certain. So like it's used for backend development. Like see, Node.js and Django Flask are different from each other because like there are things like you could Google it. I won't explain it in depth right now because then it will just confuse you or other people. So these are certain things. Now we can also have backend written in C++ or Ruby or Pascal or something else like that. But it's not done normally unless you're dealing with websites that need efficiency and speed. Like suppose if you have a website for processing, suppose bank ledger or like certain such stuff, like suppose stock market or something else like that. So it may be used over there, but not generally. Like if you are creating a chatbot, or suppose if you're creating an online journal website where people can
Yeah.
basically
Mm.
create their journals and store stuff, and you'll not be using C++ and all normally. But it's if you know it, it's fine. And databases, we have MongoDB. Like this is MERN. This is called MERN. Like this is full stack. It's a common term associated with full stack MERN. So if you want, you can Google that. MERN. Okay, MERN. What is MERN? Full stack.
So we are
And
starting
that
with
that
Visual Studio, right? Today.
Visual Studio Code is an environment. Like you're in 11th, I know. So Notepad was what you all used last year for making websites. Like HTML, you all use Notepad.
HTML was
Like
using Notepad, yeah.
Notepad is something you do not want to use. Notepad is very it's impractical. Like these editors provide auto completion and other stuff, and it's just smarter. Like you have color coding and all over here, so it's going to be easier to like just code, and also it's more comfortable. See, you have dark version, isn't that pleasant to the eye? So that's why we are using editors. And it's also because they provide us environments for running code. So do not use Notepad or else we'll make fun. We made it very clear. Notepad
Got
is for noobs. So we'll be using editors and Visual Studio Code. There are developers for Visual Studio Code and other IDEs, but that's way beyond our scope. Like even I don't know how to develop IDEs and stuff. That's like out of our league right now. We'll be focusing mainly on front end for this bit, and once we are at a certain level with that, then we move on to backend. Any other questions? No? Shivansh, you can take over.
Yeah. So let me give you the annotation. Yeah. So one of the main point why we are using VS Code is because of the auto completion. So if you just press the exclamation mark, if you type the exclamation mark, you will get this option of emit abbreviation. You just press tab or enter, and it gives you a boilerplate. Okay, so let's start with understanding what this is. So this first line which you are able to see is just a declaration. What it does is it tells the browser what kind of file it is. Okay, so and one of the misconception is that this is an HTML tag. So it is not. It is just a declaration. Okay. Next we have this HTML tag.
Okay, one thing, this doc type tag. I talked about HTML5 in the beginning, right? Like the latest version of HTML is HTML5. So if you want to use HTML5, then use doc type. Like it's not like browsers will still recognize it, but it's it was introduced in HTML5. So it's suggested that you use it, you put it even though you are using it thoroughly, or like even if it's just lying around, just put it in. Yeah, Shivansh, continue.
Yeah. So this second line is the HTML tag. So what a tag is, it's basically, it starts with this angle tag and it's end with this angle tag, and most of the HTML tags have this, first they are opened and they are closed. So if you type in some random stuff, it will not know which is a paragraph, which is a heading. So to tell what it is, we use HTML tag. It will be more clearer to view when we will start with different HTML tags. So the HTML tag has an attribute. So an attribute is it just gives more information about the tag. So like here it tells that language is in the website is used is English. So it helps to the search engine if we want to filter our search results according to the language. So yeah, next we have the head tag. Now inside the head tag we have the title tag, the meta tags, and if we want, like every website will have, we can also link CSS. So for now, you don't need to link CSS because we will not be starting with CSS right now. But just to tell you, in the CSS is linked within the head tag. Next, this title tag. So this title is what you see uh, at here, like the session 1 Google Docs. This is the title. Okay, so whatever is inside the head tag, it will not be visible in this on this web page. Okay, so if I open this with live server, okay, so
Everyone
it's
noticed
opening
that
it.
live server bit. Everyone noticed how that live server bit is showing, which I just talked
Yeah,
about.
sorry. One thing, you can run the live server either by pressing Alt key along with LO, or else you can right click on the file and there is an option open with live server. Okay,